Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 6th of December, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Gobbling Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, aka Motown Noah. Got a jam-packed show for you guys today, and we're actually just going to jump right into it. We're going to skip all of the pleasantries. Now, if you've been listening to the program for a while, you would know that this is not a victory lap program. That's not really something that we do. You know, sometimes we throw some shit at the wall and we get some predictions right. What we don't do when that happens is plant our flag and again, just do a victory lap and try to prove to everybody how right we were about something and try to, you know, give the impression that, no, you should actually listen to me because look at how right I was about this thing. That's not what we do, very famously, right? So in lieu of that, I will instead just play a brief clip for you from a show that we taped about, 4 or 5 days ago at this point. And why don't I just let the clip do the talking? If you live in California right now, you need to leave. Because this is an earthquake. That's going to happen. It's 100% going to happen. I'm worried about our West Coast listeners, but specifically our California-based listeners. You know, I've taken on the responsibility, I've adopted the responsibility of being the digital Paul Revere whenever I need to be about, you know, varying happenings. And what I have clocked is that oarfish are once again washing up on the shores of California beaches. Now, if you are familiar with the folklore of such a happening, you know that means that some bad shit is about to happen. You know that these deep sea creatures washing up on shore means that they're swimming up from the depths for a reason, because there's some tectonic action happening below our feet. So when these fish at the bottom of the ocean, they sense that. And they're like, wow, what the hell is going on? We need to go up. And then they die because they can't live in like shallower depths. So our California-based listeners, just put a pin in that. I'm not going to tell you I told you so if it does happen. I just want you to be aware. Just, you know, just put that in the back of your brain. Now, folks, if you haven't seen this and you haven't heard about this, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck Northern California the day that I'm taping this on December 5th, 2024. And look, some of you out there emailed in about this. Some of you emailed this in California, by the way. We're going to get to some of those emails in just a second. And a lot of them, the genesis of a lot of those emails was, holy shit, like you were right about this thing. Yeah, I know. But what I want to say to you is this. Look, we cannot cover all of the biggest stories and cover them from all angles, even the stories that haven't happened yet, if you're not in tune with Mother Nature. And all I did in this instance was relay to you what Mother Nature was communicating to me. And now maybe I have now passed on this information to you, and it is something that for the future, you yourself will clock. Specifically, if you are a resident of the West Coast, specifically in this case, Northern California and Southern Oregon. So what do you say we jump into some of the emails that you guys sent about this? Mainly the people who were boots on the ground. This one came into us from Aaron. Aaron, welcome to the show. I can't believe this happened. Subject line, California tsunami. Hey, Nick, longtime listener, and I would just like to say, wow. You had a segment on fish coming up to the surface that normally don't appear unless seismic activity is going to happen, and boom! 7.3 earthquake in the ocean, and I am currently evacuated on top of the Twin Peaks in San Francisco. The second the earthquake hit, I was like, God damn, Nick is Nostradamus. And that's the end of the email. Aaron, thank you very much for this. Thank you for... I sent you an email back. I hope that you saw this. I was just wishing that you were actually safe. Like, yes, all jokes aside, I was like, okay, this is very funny, but like, you're good though, right? Didn't get an email back. Aaron, if you would please get back to me just so I know that you are alive. I've kept up with this as best as I could on Reuters. There doesn't seem to have been... I'm sure that some bad stuff happened. Hopefully nobody died from this. 7.3 is crazy. 7.3? I think we said we just saw the clip. What did I say? That it was going to be like a sub 4? Like, I think I said like a 3.2. I didn't think it was going to be like this. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Don't put this on me. Don't shoot the messenger on this whole thing. But I love the idea that this guy is mid-evacuation, and he was like, what the fuck? He's like, he tried to tell me. He told me to leave California. He tried to tell me. I did. But because it's not a victory lap program, I'm just not going to say anything further than that. And then we got a different one, not boots on the ground. I don't believe. We'll see in the email. I don't think this was boots on the ground. This one came into us from Alligator Eater. Alligator Eater, welcome to the show. Subject line, you were right. First time yapper, long time yeah. Thursday, December 5th, 3:15 p.m. Eastern. I'm sitting at the front desk of my side hustle, and I hear my quote-unquote manager yell, "Ooh, there was an earthquake." Naturally, I respond with a disinterested, "Where?" She responds in her fine-ass Bulgarian accent, "California." My heart dropped to my balls. My eyes bulge wide and far. I gulp in terror. A faint, "He was right," slips from my fear-crippled vocalizer. "Excuse me?" she responds. I snap back into my hell of a reality in a more controlled tone. "He said this would happen." "Who?" "And I was laughing." I cry in regret. Needless to say, I no longer have a chance with my manager. Love the B story to this email that this guy was trying to fuck his manager now that he had this cathartic moment where he was like, holy shit, Nick was right about the earthquake. Now he thinks his chances are gone with that. Back to the email. But I was really just shocked that you were right about something. You never shy away from a take, parenthetically, conspiracy, close parentheses. And I don't know if this is actually true, but I just assume that they mostly fall flat. You've earned my trust from here on out, and I will never doubt you again. I will read the rest of this email. It has nothing to do with the earthquake. Also, when you were talking about all the rivalry games in college football on Monday, somehow you forgot to mention the Georgia Tech 8 overtime catastrophe. Yeah, brother, it's just because that game happened late at night, wasn't it? I didn't watch that game. I woke up the next day and was like, wow, that game went 8 overtimes. That's crazy. Everything I saw on Reddit was people bitching about the fact that the refs helped out Georgia. I saw some highlights on game day, and that was basically it. Or was it game day? Wherever it was that I saw the highlights. That did happen, but I was so football brained over the weekend that one did slip through the cracks. I didn't cover it because I didn't watch it. Where'd you say this one was from? She's Bulgarian. Yeah, you said she had a Bulgarian accent. What does that sound like? What does a Bulgarian accent sound like? I'm trying to think of the most famous Bulgarian. Victor Krum? Probably Victor Krum. What did he sound like? In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Victor Krum was the one who was like, "Hey, Hermione." He's like snapping like he's like the Fonz. "Hey, Hermione, you want to go to the big dance? You want to go to the ball with me? You want to go to the big school dance with me?" And she swoons. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Victor Krum. Wow." Trying to think of what else a Bulgarian would say. I'm imagining a Bulgarian walking down the street in like Vermont. Like imagine like a foreign exchange Bulgarian. And they're here to like steal some kid's genes. Getting fostered by a family in rural Vermont. They're walking down the street. And they're walking down the street and Bernie Sanders, they brush shoulders with Bernie Sanders. "Hey, aren't you Mr. Sengales?" "It's Bernie Sanders." "Hey, Mr. Sanders, you want to..." Fuck, this joke's going to suck. I don't even want to do this one anymore. Thank you guys, everyone out there who gave me some props for the earthquake stuff. I don't even want it. Doesn't really seem like the thing that I was right. I tried to give you a little notice. All of our California residents out there, I tried to, you know what I mean? So maybe the next time that somebody tells you, "Hey, oarfish are washing up on the beaches," maybe you'll fucking go to Aspen. Go to Reno. Go to Boise. Go somewhere else that's not on the coast of California. Earthquake happened, 6 miles off the coast? 7.3? Tsunami warning did end up getting rescinded, like pretty quick. Soon thereafter, they were like, "Nah, we'll be fine. We'll be okay." Keeping a watchful eye on that one, though. So, folks, let's jump into the meat and potatoes of today's program. The Detroit Lions did it again. The Detroit Lions are 12-1. They have won the most consecutive games that they have ever won, literally ever. They have the best record that they have had, literally ever, with tonight's win over the Green Bay Packers, 34-31, last-second game-winning field goal from Jake Bates. They have officially clinched a playoff berth, so at this point, even if they lose out, it doesn't matter. They would still get in. Of course, we on this program do not want that to happen because then we would lose the 1 seed. But holy smokes. Holy smokes. Guys want me to be honest with you? All week I've been worried about this one. Been worried about this one all week because that defense is decimated. We've been signing guys left and right off of other teams' practice squads all week. Jamal Adams has been on the team for 3 days. First of all, how the hell has he been in game shape? He hasn't played in like a year and a half. How is Jamal Adams still in game shape that the Lions can call him and he's like, yeah, I can play actual reps in an NFL game in 3 days. I can do that. And guess what he did? His job for the entire game, if you saw Jamal Adams on the field, it was either you're in man coverage or you're rushing the quarterback. That's all that it was. Did a pretty good job of it, especially in that first half. Like, he had some legit pressures, right? The Lions pull off this game. We're worried about it. Right before the game kicks off, we put our son to sleep. Maddie, my girlfriend, she goes, I'm scared. I go, it's okay, baby. I kind of am too. I was like, I really do kind of feel like it's because it's going to happen at some point, right? The team's not going to go 16-1, and that's okay. To be honest with you, I'm shocked that they're 12-1. Like, how does this just keep happening? Because it's not in the same Kansas City Chiefs way, where it's like dark magic, deal with the devil. Like, are we sure there wasn't a fix for this game? I don't know. But they did it again. Lions won again. I'm looking at the game that we have in 10 days at home against the Buffalo Bills, and I'm like, there it is, right? I'm like, so that's why losing this game would be a real bitch. Not even just because of the NFC North implications or anything like that, or like the number 1 seed implications. Just because you're playing the Bills in 10 days, and that's the one that it's like you're playing the potential MVP of the entire league in Josh Allen. He's coming to your home turf. The last time that we played the Bills, I believe, was also in Detroit on Thanksgiving, maybe 2 years ago. So I'm a little bit iffy on that one. So to come out with this win, I mean, gee whiz, brother. You know what I mean? The crux of this game was Dan Gamble. He was at it again. I don't think we've seen a Dan Campbell this aggressive in going for it on fourth down, probably since the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers, which is something that ultimately ended up being our demise and ended up being the reason that we did not go to the Super Bowl last year. And what I said to you guys after that game was if we were going to lose in the NFC Championship game and we were going to blow a 17-point lead, we're up 24-7 in that game and we lost and we didn't go to the Super Bowl. Our season was over. Again, a big part of that was because Dan Campbell was just addicted to going for it on fourth down. If we were going to go out, I would rather we go out playing our brand of football, right? Rather than doing something that was antithetical to what we've done all season that got us to that point. And that was the philosophy that I was trying to keep in mind tonight. And when it became a little bit difficult to do it, was because the Lions had 2 really big fourth down conversions earlier in the game. One of them led to, was it 2 of them? The one that I'm thinking of that absolutely worked was it was like 4th and 3. Well, it was 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. We go for it. Tim Patrick touchdown. We'll talk about Tim Patrick in just a second. Legacy game from him. Holy smokes. Like just as a guy. But the one that I was kind of like, we go for it 4th and whatever from our own 30-something yard line. We don't get it, sets up the Packers in dynamite field position. I believe that was right on the heels of the Packers also getting great field position because Jared Goff threw a pick. We'll also talk about Jared Goff in just a second. So it's like these back-to-back possessions, you know, a couple in succession, where you're just giving the Packers great field position, and they capitalized both times. That's really hard to stomach. So we get into crunch time. What is it, 2nd and 17, dig route to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Looked like he had enough to move the chains. Expedited review said no. 3rd and inches, didn't get it. It's 4th and inches, less than a minute to go. The Packers don't have timeouts. What are you going to do? Are you going to kick this ball and you're going to give the ball back to Green Bay again with no timeouts? No. Dan Campbell's going for it. He's going for it, and Jared Goff, under center, takes the snap, pulling guard. Jared trips over him. Knee is down, still gets a clean exchange with David Montgomery. David Montgomery picks up the first down. Lions can, Jared takes another snap, runs it to a different hash, just gets to Jake Bates' spot. knocks in the field goal, the Lions win the game. Now, if this was 10 years ago, the league probably would have been like, no, he was down, even though a defensive player didn't touch him, and this is the NFL, and that technically means that he's not down. This isn't college, right? Which is something that I believe even Kirk Herbstreit identified on the call. They would have still horseshitted us out of that, and I was very much waiting for that, and I was surprised that there wasn't more of a stir, because I was just like, maybe I'm just a little bit fuzzy on the rules, because even though I know that that's the rule, and no, yeah, he's not down, I was just, you know what I mean? Like, I was just kind of waiting for that wrinkle to develop, like, oh, actually, he's down, and that's a turnover on downs, and now we're going to overtime. We're not, I guess. It's like the Reddit wired autocomplete undercover. It's actually me, but he's actually not down. It's actually not down. That's a first down. He's not down. It's a first down for the Detroit Lions, and they're able to ice this game and win it. Packers don't get to touch the ball again. Tim Patrick game. Guy hasn't played a snap of football before this season in 2 years. His last touchdown was in 2021. He had 2 for Detroit tonight, and we needed both of them. We needed both of them in a bad way. So that was really cool to see out of him. Additionally, you had Jared Goff, who, outside of that one interception that he threw, finished that game throwing, 14 or 15 straight completions? I believe that would have been probably after the pick, right? Was lights out. And it's a little bit too bad that, A, Saquon Barkley is on pace to break the single-season rushing record. I think he's supposed to break it in Week 18. You know, just what the trend would suggest. It'll probably be Week 18 if he does do it. You also have a guy like Josh Allen, who on the Monday night game is doing backyard football shit with Amari Cooper, has a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and obviously threw a touchdown all in one game. No quarterback has ever done that in the history of the NFL. He's just having an incredible season. So if it wasn't for those two dudes, and again, if it wasn't for Jared Goff having that Houston game, which is just such an ugly demerit on his season, even if we still ended up winning the game, and if you really went, like, not all interceptions are created equally, right? And so if you really looked at it through a certain lens, how many of those interceptions were really his fault? If I look back on it, 2 maybe? 2 of those 5? Because one of them was right before the half. One of them was a tip ball. Maybe 2 of them were a tip ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really 5 interceptions, but on paper it was. And that's what the voters will care about. It's really too bad that all of that stuff is stacked against him because of how good he's been for Detroit this season. And I think even saying that, you know, there is going to be, when the ballots come out, he'll get some third place votes. Maybe there'll be some second place votes. He'll be on the ticket, which is in some ways good enough for me just as a Lions fan. Seeing one of my guys on the MVP ballot will mean a lot to me, you know, as somebody who's receiving votes. That'll be really cool to see. But it's not a fucking participation trophy, and I would, of course, love to actually see him win it. It's just not going to be in the cards. Hey, man, I don't know. With how the NFL works, this week-to-week narrative shit, what if the Lions beat the Bills? I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm just posing the hypothetical here. If we beat the Bills, even if the box score doesn't suggest that Jared Goff, he outplayed Josh Allen, does that matter? Because the contrast in what a show like Get Up or what a show like First Take is going to look like on Friday morning after this Thursday night game, the contrast of if the Lions lost this game versus if they won, it's night and day. Because what you will now see on First Take and Get Up, those aforementioned shows, on Friday morning following this win for the Detroit Lions, is people saying, man, we got so interested in this shiny new toy in the Philadelphia Eagles that we forgot that the Detroit Lions have won, 11 games in a row? They're the best that they have ever been in the history of football. They're 12-1, have clinched a playoff berth, and I believe, somebody can fact check me on this, I believe, based on my own math, are 1 division win away from clinching the NFC North and winning 2 consecutive division titles for the first time since the mid-50s. They're going to pivot. They're going to be talking about Detroit, and they're going to pretend like they didn't jump ship on Detroit because the Eagles have been on a rocket. We've won more games in a row than the Eagles. And I say this as somebody who's terrified of the Eagles right now. I don't want to play them. A lot of that has to do with the injuries. We talked a little bit on Monday about how the Detroit Lions currently are the most injured team in football. They have 13 guys on injured reserve. The team with the second most in the NFL right now, 7. And by the way, that 13 on IR is not including the 4 guys who were listed as unavailable due to injuries for tonight's game. So at least 17 guys were hurt. Aleem McNeil goes out for the game tonight. Chalk him up. Add it to the list. Despite that, despite the adversity, and by the way, a patchwork defense with guys who have never played together before, despite letting up 31 points, a majority of those, I believe 24 of those coming in the second half, were lights out today in the first half. In those first few drives, you're seeing pressure on the quarterback as if Aiden Hutchinson was out there. As if it was him and Zadarius Smith on the edge with Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader in the middle with Alex Anzalone in the linebacking core. You know what I mean? They were awesome. Jordan Love is just hanging on to the ball. There was an interesting moment happening in the first half where you're like, did the Packers not? Maddie was clocking this. She's like, they don't trust him. She was like, they don't trust Jordan Love. Goes into halftime 3 of 7 for like 31 yards. Whoa. The Packers' only touchdown drive in the first half is, 12 passes, 2 runs? You don't see that in the NFL. And that's the real take here for the Packers, right? Sure, you didn't have Jair Alexander and you didn't have Romeo Doubs. And there's a, if ifs were fits, we'd all be drunk right now. But if they had those two players, there's a conceivable world where the Packers win this game. But they weren't playing, right? We talked a few weeks ago about how the worst thing that somebody can do after their team wins is then pander to the opposing team's fans and be like, well, but you guys played so great. So at the risk of sounding like that guy, I want to highlight one person for the Green Bay Packers. And Packers fans, I don't know if you've felt this way all season, but in the back of my head, I've kind of been like, is Josh Jacobs the forgotten cog in this whole machine? That when people talk about Green Bay this season and the sustained success that they've had, they're 9-4 after this loss, Josh Jacobs is sneaky having one of the best and most productive seasons of his entire career. Like, there's an argument to be made that I don't want to say was single-handedly carrying the offense tonight, because Jordan Love made some throws in that second half. There was one, I believe it was in the fourth quarter, Jack Campbell times the blitz perfectly. Josh Jacobs completely misses him. Jordan Love does a little hoop. He does a little hoop, little hip dip, gets out of the way, falling away, puts the ball in a shoebox. Like, I don't know how he made the throw. When you're watching it live, you're like, that's a normal throw. You see the replay and you see some, like, the all 22 angle. How the fuck did he make that throw? Jordan Love was good in this game. But Josh Jacobs has just been consistently awesome. What is it, 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games? He's been so good for the Packers. And again, it just feels like when you do talk about Green Bay this season, Josh Jacobs is like maybe the 4th thing that people talk about the most, which is really too bad because he's been exceptional. Shout out to Jake Bates, man. He's missed 1 field goal all season. And that was last week against the Bears, where it was like, you know what, if you were finally going to miss one, I'd rather be in this game, even though there's a, sneaky, maybe we should have lost that game. But guess what? We didn't. Because when you are a good team, it does not matter how you win. It matters that you do. When you are a team who lacks an identity, which admittedly the Detroit Lions do not lack identity, when your identity becomes winning, like a Kansas City Chiefs team, that's what people are going to hang on to the most, right? And when you talk about identity, you kind of got to talk about the coaching staff a little bit. We talk about this patchwork defense that the Lions have thrown together the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. This week, I mean, holy smokes. The Bears game, if we were hurting, the Bears game killed us, depth-wise. We talked a little bit about how the Lions threw this defense together tonight. Guys who have never played together before. But the coaching staff gets them right. The coaching staff imprints on them. They say, fly to the football. Play after the whistle. Right? Okay. They're in go mode after that. You may never play another snap of football for this team for the rest of your life after this week. But damn it, right now, we need you. It's a tryout for the other 31 teams in the league. Maybe we'll cut you when dudes come back. You know what I mean? But it's a testament to the coaching staff, the Kelvin Shepherds of the world, the Aaron Glens of the world. Seriously. I can't believe we pulled that off. Like, I'm shocked. I was mentally prepping for a loss the entire game. It just didn't happen. maybe the most like nervous I've been since the Vikings game. Probably since the Vikings game. And you're just looking at the Eagles, man. You're looking at the Eagles, and I can't disparage the Vikings. They're 10-2 right now going into Sunday. But when you're talking about the 1 seed, and we still have to play each other one more time, I believe in the last game of the season. Coming into this Thursday night game, the Lions had the 5th hardest schedule remaining in the league. The Eagles, who are trailing the Lions by 1 game for the number 1 seed in the NFC, have the 3rd easiest? Shit. Fuck. Don't they play Carolina on Sunday? Come on. Now, and that's not even to disparage Carolina, because Bryce Young's kind of flipped a switch a little bit. They almost took down the Chiefs. They're looking frisky. Didn't they? They almost beat the Bucs. If Chuba Hubbard didn't fumble, they would have beat the Bucs. I don't know. The Panthers are frisky. That's not to say, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen on Sunday? It's not the cakewalk it was even 5 weeks ago playing that Carolina Panthers team. They are very much in spoiler territory. They're in upset territory. NFL, any given Sunday. That's what it is, right? That's what NFL stands for, is any given Sunday. So, folks, the Detroit Lions are 12-2. I am absolutely in that territory of like, what am I supposed to say about them that you don't already know? They just keep winning. That's it. I'm very humbled by this. By this win, seriously. Shout out to Xavier McKinney, once again, refusing to shut the fuck up. A couple days ago was like, I'm not scared of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And this is on the heels of him. The last time that we played the Packers, he was like, I think it's lame that they beat up on teams. Fucking shut up. How about that? We've been beat up on for the last 60 years. And then we start to do it for a total of 8 games, and it's fuck us, fuck you. Sure, Amon-Ra St. Brown was kind of quiet today, but he caught passes when it mattered the most. Did he not? Maybe you should have conveyed your lack of fear for the rest of the team. How about that? Shout out to Quay Walker for bowling over Dan Skipper. That was funny. Optically, it was just hilarious. Matt LaFleur always looks like he's going to cry. I'm sick of him. Like, just because you're hot, it doesn't mean that you're a good football coach. You know what I mean? Tired of Matt LaFleur. Look at me, I had the perfect amount of facial hair on my face. Look at me, I use touch of gray. Touch for gray? What is that? What's that shit? Touch of gray? Touch for gray? What is that called? Oh, look at me, I have the perfect amount of hair. Oh, look at me, I'm in my 40s. My hairline's perfect. Cool. Good for you, Matt LaFleur. Fucking janitor. copinghour@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Let's do some miscellaneous emails real quick. Probably should have saved these for later, but there are so many emails to get through today. I really just kind of want to try to hammer these out as quick as I can, while also giving you the time that you deserve as the emailers, right? So this first one comes into us from Kenny. Kenny, welcome to the show. Subject line, Shirley Temple's 7-Up is game-changing. Hey, Nick, this is my first time emailing you, and I had to let you know that I heard you rave about Shirley Temple's 7-Up a while back, and I had a few thoughts. My first thought was that I've never had a Shirley Temple before, so this probably isn't going to be for me, but then added the potential for an easy, dirty Shirley, and it piqued my interest. I eventually picked some up with a bottle of with a bottle of bottom shelf vodka, thinking, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a drink I'm completely unsure of. Oh my God, it's so good. I've had better drinks before, but known for how cheap it is to grab a case of 7-Up and some cheap vodka. Thank you so much. Brother, that's what it was for, right? Because Shirley Temple's on their own. Dog, it's literally just like soda water. You could have like, it doesn't have to be Sprite or 7-Up. It could just be like carbonated water. Not carbonated water. It has to be soda water. Like club soda and grenadine. That's literally all that it is. It's amazing. And yeah, you put some Tito's in there. You're cruising. Chilling and cruising, both at the same time. Cruising, krilling. You're cruising and krilling. If you just, what's the total for that? $20? You get a horn of Tito's and a case of Shirley Temple 7-Up. You're drunk for 2.5 days. I'm glad that got through to somebody, because Shirley Temple's, fellas out there, to the ladies who listen to the show, I'm sure you don't have problems with ordering fruity drinks, right? Because there's not that stigma. If you go to a bar, go to a dive bar, the grittiest bar you can imagine, just through virtue of being a woman, if you order a fruity drink, they're going to be like, yeah, that's fine. If me, a guy who looks like me, walked into a bar, this has happened to me before. I go, can I get a Dirty Shirley? They're like, no. No. All right, I'll have a fucking Miller Lite then. You know how good it feels to just be like, I want the fruity drink. I want to drink something that I actually enjoy, that I have. If I'm going to get drunk, like you know what I mean? I want to have fun drinking it. Just get a Dirty Shirley, dude. Shout out to Kenny. And then this one comes into us from Drew. Drew, welcome to the show. Spotify Rap plus Fantasy Ball. Where did I want to jump on this? So Drew here was in the fantasy league, the Coping Hour Fantasy League that I guess started from the Coping Hour Reddit, r/Coping Hour. And one of the teams was called the capital M Moments. And I was like, I want to see that team. That's the team that I want to see. Well, Drew actually, it's Drew. Drew sent in the team, fantasy basketball team. So you led with Spotify Rap Drop today, so I wanted to inform you on where you finished in my 2024 podcast. Not entirely sure how Joe Rogan topped you, but I guess the data doesn't lie. I have some takes on that we'll get to at some point. Drew, just since we are reading your email, I won't do this for everybody because we got 100 Spotify Wrapped emails, which again, we'll talk about because that is what I asked for. Your top podcasts were The Joe Rogan Experience at number 1, The Coping Hour at number 2, Small Ball with Kenny Beecham at number 3, This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn and Lex Friedman at 5. Oh, Drew. Lex Friedman, man. You sent in a nice email. I'm not going to shit on it. So the starting 5 in fantasy basketball for the capital M Moments. I believe you said you were 6-0. Yeah, I can see in the screenshot right here. You're 6-0. You haven't lost. Dennis Schroeder, Benedict Mathurin, Austin Reeves, Pascal Siakam, and Michael Porter Jr. Those seem like all great fantasy players. Benedict Mathurin as a fantasy player, the guy who just scores the ball. Just scores the ball. I love that. I love that. That's it. That's basically the whole email. I didn't have any commentary on it. I just wanted to highlight that because I think I asked specifically to see what the roster looked like, and we finally got it. Here's a fun one. This one comes into us from Alex. copingoursubs@gmail.com. Spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Alex, welcome to the show. Subject line, Ron Baker versus Aaron Kraft plus Tyrese Maxey discourse. Hey, Nick. I was back home in Iowa for Thanksgiving break and hung out with the boys. We are all basketball sickos, both college and NBA, and we began reminiscing on college basketball in the 2010s and its most interesting and integral teams. After a while, both Ron Baker and Aaron Kraft were brought up, and the question was brought up, would you rather have the basketball career of Aaron Kraft or Ron Baker? A seemingly stupid question ended up in a lively debate with interesting points being made on both sides. Aaron Kraft was absolutely a lowercase s star in the Big Ten for multiple years, but seemingly being a capital G guy for an Ohio State Buckeyes team, hitting one of the biggest shots of the 2010s, but ultimately not having any real success post-college. Ron Baker, on the other hand, played at a much smaller school in Wichita State and taking them to unprecedented heights alongside his co-star Fred VanVleet, and eventually landed on an NBA roster. No idea if the whole hypothetical... No, it did. You don't need to question if this stuck to me. This is an amazing one. This is literally why I do the show is for emails like this. Aaron Kraft versus Ron Baker. Are you fucking kidding me? Talk about I guess I'm skipping the Tyrese Maxey part of it. Aaron Kraft versus Ron Baker, just opening this up as discourse, to me is like when Miles Morales was introduced as Black Spider-Man. It's oh my God, Spider-Man's black now. There's such representation. Black Panther is another one. Oh my gosh. Black people wow, we have a superhero. Wow, this is so cool. Anthony Mackie, the Falcon, becoming Captain America. Wow. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Having a conversation where we can get our shit off about Aaron Kraft and Ron Baker? Are you kidding me? Dog, I live for this shit. Who would I rather be? Which basketball career would I rather have? It just depends, right? I guess you're asking me specifically, so I don't need to paint both sides of it. Because it's like Aaron Kraft was a villain, especially as somebody, I'm a Michigan State fan. You guys know that by now. Big Ten, we played Aaron Kraft and Thad Matta. You remember Thad Matta? Piece of shit. That guy always looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. What is he even up to these days? There's no way he's dead. Thad Matta would not be dead. No, he wouldn't be dead. My biggest memory of Aaron Kraft, who also always had really rosy cheeks. Aaron Kraft also did. He looked like Rudolph the Red-Cheeked Reindeer. My biggest memory, if you're around my age, graduating class of high school 2016, I'm 26 years old. Do you guys remember being in middle school and like kind of into high school a little bit? Some of you guys might have gotten phones, but I was still using the iPod Touches, right? I remember being in my 10th grade marketing class, and when March Madness would happen on my iPod Touch, I would just have March Madness on. Those were always such fun days at school when like the cool teachers would put the games on their TVs, Otherwise, you just had your little iPod Touch kind of just like off to the side, like what's going on with this. You would do the trick where you would put some wired headphones in your phone or your iPod Touch, and you'd siphon them through your arm sleeve. And then this is sort of a visual thing. I apologize if you're listening. I'll try to explain what I'm doing here. And you would just kind of like lean on your hand as if you were tired, but it's just because you have it filtered, the headphone filtered up through your sleeve. You know what I mean? So you could actually listen to the game. So I remember Ohio State was playing Dayton, and I was in my 10th grade marketing class. It was near the end of the day. Dayton wins. They upset Aaron Kraft and Ohio State. What was the timeline overlap with Aaron Kraft and like Jared Sullinger? Surely they would have been on the same team, right? Aaron Kraft would not have played with Greg Oden. No, not even close. They wouldn't have played together. I think I was closer with Jared Sullinger, maybe Evan Turner. Maybe Evan Turner was on those teams, right? I don't know about the Dayton team specifically, but the reason I referenced that was because I think it was his last game, maybe. Aaron Kraft, I think, missed the last shot of the game, and it's the shot that I remember, the camera shot, Dayton storming the court. Oh, my God, we upset Ohio State. And Aaron Kraft is just laying on his back on the court looking up with his hands behind his head like, holy shit, I lost. The boogeyman was dead. Like Aaron Kraft no longer in March Madness. The dude was a huge villain. But in a way that I can look back on and be like, it was actually like he was awesome. We're far enough removed from it that Aaron Kraft, just as a dude and as a guy who was like the heel in the Big Ten, honestly, just through virtue of playing for Ohio State, I don't really remember him being a dirty player. It was just that he was playing for Ohio State, and the fact that Thad Matta actually coached them to some pretty successful years. Ron Baker, on the other hand, first of all, gun to my head, in the height of Wichita State having like a 2-year run, Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet were 100% like the two horsemen of the upset apocalypse, right? It's easy to look back now and be like, oh, I always knew it was going to be Fred VanVleet. No. That made it in the NBA. No. If you were watching those runs while they were happening, Ron Baker was that motherfucking guy. Capital G guy. The little swoopy hair, which was so indicative of the era. You look back and just his haircut, just his everything about him aesthetically. If you look back on it, you're like, this is so early to mid 2010s. Like pilled of Ron Baker to just like look the way that he does. And we talk about Aaron Kraft and having Thad Matta. That would have been Shaka Smart's music, right? Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet would have been coached by Shaka Smart. That has to be the timeline. Watching Wichita State was so fun because they were the team that wasn't supposed to win, but they just always did. And I think when you're the ringleader of that team versus being like an Aaron Kraft type character, that's what I was saying at the beginning when, well, it depends on who you are. Do you want to be the villain and embrace being the guy that everybody fucking hates? Or do you want to be the Cinderella guy? Most of us want to be the Cinderella guy. Most of us do, for sure. But I would have sworn up and down that Ron Baker was going to be the one that had an NBA career. Because I think you said Ron Baker was the one who made it in the NBA. Yeah, he played for the Knicks, I think. I have vivid memories of Aaron Kraft playing for the Santa Cruz Warriors. I know for a fact he played in the G League. And he played so long ago, it might have been the damn D League at the time. I think one of them has like a coaching career. Honestly, both of them might. I have no idea. Which one would I rather be? I'm going to go with Ron Baker just because the people who do remember him have such fond memories of him and they don't really say anything mean about him. Whereas I just spent probably a tight 5 to 7 being like, I hated Aaron Kraft more than anything in the world. I would never say anything bad about Ron Baker, though. Those Wichita State years, it was like, to me, it was like the Wichita State and Florida Gulf Coast were like the same. You know what I mean? It's the same picture. .jpg. Let's do a different one. This one's uplifting. This one's fun. Kind of a change of pace, a little bit of a hard zag from what we've been covering today on the program. But this one comes into us from Cam. Cam, welcome to the show. Subject line, replay wheel merchant. Good morning, Nick and fellow constituents. I'm emailing you from a very, very frustrating shift at work right now. And you just did your whole, you're 19, just chill bit. Very useful, by the way. Thank you. And I want to share what will hopefully end up being my success story with the show. Now, before I continue with the email, if you're new to the program, hey, you're 19 years old, just chill. It's just that when you leave high school, you're 17, 18, 19 years old. We are rushed into major life decisions, going off to college and continuing and furthering your education. You're rushed into these decisions when you really don't know that much about who you are as a person or what you even like or what you even want to do in the world. There's no shame in just kind of taking a back seat to things. Just find a job. Just do whatever you got to do. Just chill for a few years. Figure out who you are as a person. And then when you're ready to get back on the horse, save some money, go get educated. I didn't do that, but you should do that, right? It sounds like it worked for Cam, so let's get to Cam's story. I've been all over the place when it comes to what I want to do in the future. Sure, there were the typical childhood dreams that you never quite let go until you have to, but I was still lost even past that. Teacher, writer, engineer, esports broadcaster, esports writer, barber, teacher again, can't choose. I ended up switching majors in college because while I thought my passion for helping students would carry me through, I couldn't keep up with the material. I changed to communications media because I jumped back to sports writing, and now I'm still kind of bouncing around within that until this semester. I'm wrapping up a TV broadcasting class where we spent the whole semester learning how to work a sports broadcast. My advisor told me that it was a cool class and that I'd enjoy it. So I went in with the expectation that it would get me close to what I want to do, but still not quite tell me what I want to do. Silly me learned a few weeks ago that I, capital L, love working replay for broadcasts. We were assigned to 4 athletics games throughout the semester while working an ACCN volleyball show and a women's basketball jumbotron show. I think this is something I don't just want, but I need to do. I've gotten the whole career path thing narrowed down to, quote, something in sports because I love sports almost as much as I love my mom, unquote. And this is a real opportunity to do that and more. To keep a long story short, it's always funny to me to break the email. Love when people say a bunch of shit and they go, just to keep a long story short. It's like, well, you did type the whole email. I'm not mad at you, Cam. I'm just saying it's just the behavior is always funny when people do that. To keep a long story short and avoid rambling, I was as close as possible to dropping out multiple times, but I stuck it out. Kept working myself out of the academic hole I dug myself, and will be working with Pack Productions, NC State's broadcasting crew, part-time while I finish out my degree next semester. Hell yeah, dude. I leaned pretty heavily on ends justify means, and you're still essentially a kid and you don't have to have it figured out yet to survive long enough to now be in the best position I've ever been in. My advice to fellow constituents would be to keep pushing forward. It's hard. There will be some particularly ass days in the mix. But as long as you keep on keeping on and you do enough to still feel human, please take care of yourself. Make sure you laugh, cry, and think daily. You will get the opportunity that you've been looking for. And then you said, P.S., I don't care if my Spotify comment about my 8th grade trip to Atlanta was the equivalent of, quote, talking about animals at the zoo that I saw. I had a great time at the zoo, and I felt like sharing, damn it. So for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, we did a prompt a couple episodes ago. I asked the Spotify listeners, hey, what's a positive interaction that you had with a celebrity? This is a couple days in a row. We just kept getting emails about, hey, what if I wanted to treat this celebrity and poorly? I'm like, just don't fucking talk to them if you have something mean to say. So I was like, let's spin this. I was like, what's a positive interaction? And one of you guys, I guess it was Cam, was like, I went to a Hawks game and I high-fived players coming out of the tunnel. And I was like, that doesn't count. That's like if you went to the zoo and we're like, I had a fun time looking at the animals at the zoo. It's like, no, that's just their natural habitat. That's where the players play. I was talking about like in the wild. Cam, I hope you had an awesome trip in 8th grade. I hope that was a core memory for you. I'm not shitting on that at all. It's just not what we were talking about. But just to, comment on the actual email here, I just wanted to highlight it because, all the stuff that we said at the beginning, just to, for some of you out there looking at the demographics of the show, like 20% of you who listen to this are between the ages of like 16 and 20. And I think a lot of you out there look at the people that are around you and the people who are not even in your same age range, and you compare yours. And this is not exclusive to people who are in their youth. This is people who are any age will do this. They'll be comparative and, see what other people have and what they don't have and how they achieved that and what they haven't achieved, right? We're just comparative by nature. But I think it's really easy to get down on yourself. And I think that the lesson here, the story here being that, hey, I wasn't really sure. I kind of just took a gamble on something, being like, yeah, maybe this will be fine. And then it actually turned out to be their passion. You just got to throw a bunch of shit at the wall. You just kind of got to figure out. It's also really good to have the mindset of, like, there's nothing that pisses me off more than when somebody turns 23 and they're like, I can't believe how old I'm getting. Like, the amount of, 25-year-olds I know who are like, midlife crisis. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Holy shit. Like, that's why I try to emphasize as much as I can. Like, I'm only 26. And I get that to a 19-year-old, 26, I might as well be fucking 30. You know what I mean? Like, to them, it's the same thing. Wait till you get to 26 and you feel like, and some of you listening to this are like 33. Some of you are listening to this, you're 40. Some of you are listening to this, you're almost 70, right? And you're like 26, like in my fucking dreams. Yeah. Believe me, I'm trying to advocate on your behalf. I'm just saying I'm clocking this as it's happening for people who are in their early to mid 20s. Bothers the hell out of me. Because when you're actually like even 35 or in your 40s or beyond, you're going to look back at when you're in your late teens or your mid 20s and be like, what a fucking loser I was being about that. So Cam, thank you very, very much for that email, brother. What's another one that we got? Do we want to do this one? I'm going to save this one. Hey, Luke, who emailed me about underrated on-court fashion. Will you bump this for me? This is a call to action. Luke, who emailed about underrated on-court fashion. We got some stuff to talk about still, and then it's going to be a long show. Bump this for me so that I remember to read it on Monday, okay? Will you do that for me, brother? Thank you. This is going to be it for the emails today. Can I talk to you guys about something? I don't get to try in like a very earnest way with content these days. Just don't have the time. And that doesn't bother me that much because I'm very at peace with just where I'm at in my digital. I'm very at peace with where I'm at in terms of my digital presence. And I think that what I do with the Coping Hour is meaningful to me. It is significant to me. It is cathartic to me. That is what I need. It's fulfilling to me. So when I actually try to like go out of my way and achieve something, in the past, I've half-assed while convincing myself that I was trying really, really hard doing it, right? The last time that I really tried doing something and, was committed to making it as good as it could be, I'm really trying to think of what it was. Like the Cade interview, that was 3.5, almost 4 years ago. Surely there was something in between, but probably not, honestly. Everything else is just kind of like, I turn on the camera, I don't know what I'm going to say, I just kind of start talking, and then whatever I say is what I end up saying, and then I cut it up and like whatever. Data leak is done. It's out. I did it. Some of you listening to this right now have already heard it and have watched it. Maybe some of you have been. I've been very evasive of like even talking about the music that I make, because I don't make music in the same way that I don't do this show. And I don't know how to say this in a way that isn't like rude. I'm just going to say it, and I hope you know what I mean. I don't make it for you. I make that for me. I've only ever done music for me. There have been points in my life where I've done like this, where I've done shows, where I've done videos, I've made content as it pertains to like culture and sports. I've done that for you in the past. But then, shit happens, and then I just kind of realize like, I need to, if I'm going to do this, like it's on some for the love of the game shit. I've said that a million times before, right? I punted on music being like my life a long time ago, like close to 8 years ago. Because I've probably been doing it for like 10. And then, it was like 2016 or 2017 that I was like, this is a hobby. I was like, this is something I do in my spare time. And that's okay. That's great. It's great. Everybody needs hobbies. Everybody loves to monetize the thing that they do as a hobby, right? That's how you burn yourself out. My problem with Data Leak is that I should have waited to release it so that I could properly communicate it to you, so that I could tell you what it means to me in a concise way that I don't end up saying something that I don't mean, and conveying a sense of why it was created in a way that I would love to tweak that. And in some ways, that's why this show exists, is so I can just talk about things and figure out on the fly, that is what I mean, or no, that's not what I mean, let me tweak that. But I am very sensitive about this project because as somebody who does not commit to things, as somebody who in the past, Data Leak took me a year to make. It's 16 and a half minutes. It's not that long. But I worked really fucking hard on it. There have been 5 or 6 different iterations of the track list. The visuals is a whole different conversation. I mean, the shit that's on my hard drive right now, the amount of people getting blown up and John F. Kennedy getting his fucking head blown off and United Healthcare CEOs getting their fucking heads blown off on my hard drive right now, and Russians getting blown up. That's what is, like, that's something I should tell you. If you watch it, like, you may be a little unsettled. There's a lot of footage in there. And if you are aware of what you're being shown, I didn't make it because I wanted it to be trauma porn. I made it like because I wanted it to be a reflection of the relationship that I have with the digital spaces that I inhabit, and my relationship with the internet that I have grown up with. That to me is what Data Leak is about. And I think that it's unrefined by design. And I think the repeating of phrases is intentional, and to me, impactful and effective. And I know some of you out there, I'm not saying this to sound self-deprecating, I know some of you out there are like, I'm never going to listen to that shit. I'm never going to ask you to do this ever again. I would love it if you gave it a shot, because I think it's fucking good. And that's really hard for me to say that. I just kind of pushed the button today. I could have waited. I could have said, let me do a whole build-up. I'll release it. I'll kind of get people excited. I'll set a release date. I'll set a premiere. But I was like, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm not doing this because I want people to watch it, which is antithetical to everything that I just said. But for those of you who listen to the show, Data Leak, available on the YouTube channel, 16 and a half minutes long. I pushed the button. I set it to public, and I said to Maddie, I was like, I've waited a year for this moment. And for most of that time, I never thought I would actually finish it. And I was like, I always thought it would feel different than how it feels right now. She's like, you're not. She's like, why aren't you happy? And I was like, I feel a profound sense of sadness and unsettledness. And like, it's not even self-doubt. I'm just like, I'm a fucking loser. Like, why did I spend so much time on this? I don't know if I have a fear for like earnest behavior. Like, by the way, Grandma, I don't think you should watch it. Because I don't think there's going to be some stuff in there I don't think you're going to want to see. Folks, data leak is out. I don't know if we'll talk about it in the future. Maybe I don't know. I've gotten a lot of emails about it. And guys, I can't, and I cannot articulate what that means to me, what that support means to me. Because again, it's very nice when I do something for me the same way that I feel about this show. I do something for me, but you at home still feel compelled to tell me that something is good, because ultimately that validation is really meaningful to me. So go check that out, folks, over on the YouTube page. Hey, let's finish the show with something fun. You guys want to wrap up the show with something fun? No pun intended, because we are going to be covering my Spotify Wrapped this year. I waited like 12 hours from release to when I taped it to open it at all, because I knew I needed to do it for like live content. I think I actually explained that in the clip that I'm about to play for you guys. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we're going to wrap up today's program. Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah's The Coping Hours. Well, no, that's a different thing. We'll talk about that on Monday. Spotify Wrapped. Let's get to it, folks. Alrighty, folks, to wrap up today's show, a very special edition, a very special segment, I should say, of The Coping Hour. Been waiting all year for this, man. Just like you at home. See, us reporters, we're just like you at home. We love Spotify Wrapped here at The Coping Hour. And it's weeks at this point that I've been like, Wrapped is coming, Wrapped is coming, Wrapped is coming. And I just want to, before we jump into it, give some quick predictions just to kind of check myself a little bit to see how well I know myself and my listening habits. Have I been tracking my own data mentally? I think for top artists, in some form, it will be, would I get 5 of them, right? It'll be Drake, Kendrick, 21 Pilots, Charlie XCX, and The Japanese House. I think it'll, in some form, I think it'll be those 5. What sucks for like my most listened to songs is the Drake and Kendrick stuff is going to dominate this, and that's not interesting. It's going to like it's going to skew the data entirely. Nick, those are still songs. It's still a snapshot of a moment in time. Yeah, for sure. But you know what I mean? It's actually just not that interesting. So the last thing, podcasts. I don't think there's going to be that much on that front, just because I think I've said this before. I watch podcasts. I don't listen to them that much. The visual stimulation piece of the whole thing is a lot. Even if it's just like there's no visuals or anything. It's just like literally 2 people having a conversation. I still like to watch them for their physical mannerisms and whatnot. Sure, Spotify does have video integration, but not everybody uses that. And it's just way easier for me to watch things on YouTube. And that's honestly why I think we spoke about this a little bit in the last episode at the tail end of it. It's why I get a little bit frustrated that YouTube doesn't have a video wrapped adjacent. I think all platforms like video or otherwise, music platforms, they should do something like what Spotify has here. Like for Apple, you have to use like a third-party extension, and it does the same thing. And what's nice about that is you can check it year-round, so you can kind of keep track of it. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to wait until the end of November or the beginning of December. With Apple, it could be the middle of February. Hey, how am I doing this year? You could check it out. So, folks, without any further ado, what do you say we check in on my Spotify Wrapped this year? I've been waiting all day for this, by the way. I didn't even say that. It released 12 hours ago, and I've been waiting literally all day for this because I knew I wanted to do it for content, and I wanted a very raw, authentic, genuine reaction to seeing what it was. I just had to wait for my son to go to sleep so that I could actually get this in the can. So without further ado, folks, here's a review of my Spotify Wrapped. Let's get into this. I'm excited. Let me turn this down. Okay. Oh, look at these. Look at this. These fancy graphics. I'm sorry, folks. On the screen, for those of you only listening to this, this will be. I'm doing a picture-in-picture. You can watch along if you'd like. I'll try to keep up and give you information if you cannot watch this. So life moves fast. Luckily, we took notes. Thank you, Spotify. Always keeping me. You listened for, is that all? 6,316 minutes this year, and you made each one count. Does this count DJX? I use DJX every single day. Your biggest listening day was July 19th with 148 minutes. Where do you find the time? Shut up. I'm home all day with my kid. Leave me alone. You played 943 songs this year. Okay, that seems like a little bit. And one song again. So this is my top song. Is this my top song? Is that what this is? Family Matters. I fucking knew it. Family Matters is my number one song. My top song was Family Matters by Drake. I was in the top 0.1% of listeners globally. I streamed it 83 times starting on May 4th. That actually doesn't seem like that many. You know what it is? Does that count the whole song? Because I listened to the first beat like a million times. While it's not a competition, there is a leaderboard. So which one is this? Which one is this? Is this okay, my top songs. 1, Family Matters by Drake. 2, Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. 3, Smiley Face by The Japanese House. Not Like Us, and Black Flag Freestyle by Denzel Curry. Fuck yeah. Featuring the Mexican OT. I've spent 512 minutes listening to podcasts this year. Yeah, see, that's just not what I do on here. So what is it going to be? Bill, probably. Ryan. What is it going to be? Am I going to be on here? Because at the beginning of the year, I would check my own thing to make sure it sounded okay. If that's going to be embarrassing. Fuck, I'm number 3. Number 1, the Ryan Russillo podcast. Number 2, the Bill Simmons podcast. And number 3, the Coping Hour. That's not vanity. If I listen to it, I actually usually do it on YouTube. You've changed, and so has your listening. Let's look at my 2024 music evolution. So in December, okay, so we're going back. We're turning back the clock to January. What were we doing in January? Look at these graphics. Look at you, Spotify. January was your theatrical instrumental soundtrack phase. Probably a lot of Succession. Nicholas Bertel, Ludwig Göransson, and John Williams. So it's Star Wars, Succession, and Oppenheimer is probably what those would have been. And then we go to July, and we had... Is this good content? I don't know if this is good content. July was your bougie football rap season. You were all about artists like Drake, Lil Yachty, and Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah, that sounds about right. Fuck pronouns, I'm that dude and that bitch. You know what I mean? What did that say? We're going to August now? What month did that say? It's probably the same shit. August was your pink Pilates princess strut pop moment. You were big on artists like Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, and Charlie XCX. Okay. I listened to 474 artists this year, but one had a special place in your heart and ears. If this isn't the Japanese House, if it's Drake, I'm going to be so... Fuck! It's not Drake. No, it's not Drake. Drake was my top artist of the year. My longest listening streak was 7 days. That's not true. This is fake news. This is the take here. I'm a top 7% fan of Drake. This is fake news. That's the takeaway here. Is Spotify is now a fake news incorporation. This isn't true. This is a farce. This is a fallacy. Who else got a lot of play this year? Oh, this is my top artist. Okay, so this is gonna be my big reveal. 3, 2, 1. Drake, The Japanese House, Lil Yachty, Sabrina Carpenter, Kendrick Lamar. Where the fuck is Charlie XCX? Whoa, I kind of want to go back to that. No, we keep it moving. We'll go back. Oh, looks like we have company. Oh, so they're doing video messages. So I get a message from Sabrina Carpenter being like, thanks for listening to me. Who's the next one? Oh, wait, do I have to watch all of these? No, that's just the message from Sabrina. Okay, yeah, we can skip ahead to that. We can move past that. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Is that it? Are we already done with Spotify Wrapped? Until we meet again, ... All right, so give me a little graphic here at the end just to... Okay, so top artists. Drake, The Japanese House at number 2. Lil Yachty. This is in order. Lil Yachty, Sabrina Carpenter, and Kendrick Lamar. Top songs, Family Matters by Drake. Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. I think Euphoria is better than Family Matters, for what it's worth. The first beat... Well, the first beat to Family Matters is so fucking good. Smiley Face by The Japanese House, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, and Black Flag Freestyle by Denzel Curry featuring that Mexican OT. Black flag all on my mic. I've been known to spend a lot like Bob Barker. The Price is Right. Being broke my kryptonite. Being rich my superpower. Smoking on these bitter dudes. In my hood we call it sour. From the south side of L.A., from the south side of FLA, been through Dayton Brower. Musty ass kush on me smelling like a golden shower. Yeah, I like my weed louder. Bitches badder. Dudes realer. I don't play about my money, about my business, about my Skrilla. Something. Dude, I speak Espanol. I don't know why I'm trying to... If you've heard the song, I don't need to keep doing this. Okay. So it's just the same thing over and over again. Okay. So the other thing that we can do is my artist clips. Who do we have here? So we know Sabrina. Sabrina's in here. Yep. Okay. So there's that. And it does a song. And then we got 21 Pilots. We got a message from 21 Pilots. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Josh. And they give us a little clip of Routines in the Night from the new record. We got Nicholas Britell in here, composer of, most importantly, Succession. That's what the soundtrack that I listen to the most, the score I listen to the most by him. He did do If Beale Street Could Talk, but he also did Don't Look Up. He did a great job with Don't Look Up. He's done a bunch of... We got Taylor! We got a message from Taylor Swift! Taylor Swift sending me a personal message. Whoa, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? And then we have Audrey Nuna. Audrey Nuna thanking me for listening to her music. You're welcome, Audrey. There's Charlie. Charlie, oh my God, Brat was just not on here. Brat was nowhere to be found in my Spotify Wrapped. You're still welcome for listening, Charlie. We got Chapel Roan in here. What up, Chapel Roan? Oh man, thanks for streaming Hot to Go. You're welcome. And then we got Post Malone. All right. Yeah, I did listen to I Had Some Help a lot. I did. That song is fucking awesome. I had some help. It ain't like I can fix this kind of mess all by myself. Don't act like you ain't helped me pull that bottle off the shelf. The song fucking rules. That's right. Okay, Jimmy Eat World, because I listened to The Middle a lot this year. Just always gets stuck in my head. It's a good song, but that's it. It's the only song by Jimmy Eat World that I listen to. And that's it. Wow. Folks, that's it. That's my... You guys want to do like a... What's my playlist look like? Okay, so it's all the same stuff that was in my top 5. We got Feather by Sabrina Carpenter, some Japanese House, Taylor Swift, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, Audrey Nuna, Lil Yachty, 21 Pilots, Cardi B. There's Charlie XCX, Chief Keef, Lil Yachty, some Dayglow, some Doja Cat, a lot of Lil Yachty, Sabrina Carpenter, a lot of Lil Yachty. Got some Bo Burnham in there. Hell yeah. Wake up every morning about 9:45. Like, am I dying? Is this real? All right, it's this again. Song fucking rules. Man, a lot of Sabrina, a lot of Lil Yachty. Got some Arctic Monkeys in there, some SZA, some Yeet. That's my hoopin' music. Ludwig Göransson. The Maze, which is from the Saltburn score when they find out that, what's his name? Jacob Elordi is dead. Spoiler alert, sorry for... I would imagine if you care enough about movies, if you wanted to see Saltburn, you probably would have seen it by now. Drake, Lil Yachty, Sabrina Carpenter, Hans Zimmer. Yeah, Dune Part 2, Worm Ride was the one that really, Can You Hear the Music by Ludwig Göransson, 100%. Some of the 1975, there it is, more Japanese House. This is, okay, yeah. Some Megan Thee Stallion, some Phoebe Bridgers, Doja Cat, more Megan Thee Stallion, more Charlie XCX. This is cool. One Billie Eilish song, one Olivia Rodrigo song. Ooh, Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince by Taylor Swift. It's you and me. That's my whole world. Hell yeah. Some more Bo Burnham. Denzel Curry. We got some Half Alive in there. There's Brighton. Some Lil Baby. Okay. Charlie XCX featuring the Japanese House. Folks, that was it. That's my Spotify Wrapped. This was fun. I got to tell you, the email today has just been flooded. The Coping Hour inbox, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program, has been, every time I open the email, it's like 15 new emails of like, here's my Wrapped. And that's because I've asked. I've been like, hey, when this drops, hit my line. You know what I mean? And you guys have done a great job of that, sending me your most listened to podcasts. I'm still going to pause on compiling all the data. I want to wait for the weekend now that Wrapped has officially come out. Maybe on Monday or maybe on next Friday or something, we'll jump into the data. But the reason I'm saying this is I want to go through all of your most listened to podcasts and kind of, again, compile the data and see what the listeners of this show listen to the most, because I think that's a very interesting reflection and snapshot of the constituency itself. You know what I mean? So please feel free to send them in. A lot of you have also sent in like your actual music Wrapped. Just stick to like your top artists and your top songs. That's really, you know what I mean? But I'm interested in that too. That's fun to see. Shout out to the guy who sent in his and his girlfriend's Wrapped. I said that weird. Him and his girlfriend's Wrapped. And it was like the same thing. They just listen to the same stuff. I think the way that he cited it was like, yeah, we just listen to the same shit in the car. That's basically all it is, which makes sense. But it was just funny to see 2 screenshots of like basically the same thing. Basically, it was the same picture.jpg. Also, I believe he sent in a picture of them. Beautiful couple. It's how it goes here at the Coping Hour. If you are a person who listens to the show, the male constituency, the male populace of the Coping Hour is like extraordinarily attractive. It's wild. You know, usually a show does a live podcast from like some theater in whatever city, you know, and you look at all of the people who attended. You're like, that is what I expected the average person who listens to that show to look like. What's crazy is like the average person who listens to the show is just hot. So like, the hormones in whatever theater it is that we eventually do a live show in, which I don't think it would ever happen, but you know what I mean? Like it would be, the testosterone would be through the roof because it's just a bunch of good looking dudes. Beautiful couples all around. Man, what else do I want to say before I let you guys get out of here? Well, since I'm going to be using this to wrap up the show, I'll ask this. Spotify listeners, since I know you're out there, here's the question for you guys. YouTube, I would love for you guys to participate in this one too. You and Spotify, and sometimes you guys fucking do that anyways. But a question for the panel. But Spotify, this is technically your question. If there was a Wrapped for something in your life, if you want to just go lifetime stat on it, like you've tracked this stat for your entire life, what would it be? So like as an example, this is the first thing that came to my mind. Maybe I'll start riffing and think of a better one. But like, if you were like, how many gallons have I peed in my entire life? And you could just go to like a website and it's tracked. It'd be wild if a website had that data on you, but you know what I mean? Like something like that. Or if you wanted to go like miles driven in my life, how many miles have I driven in a car in my entire life? Something like that. What's one more, just so I make sure that everybody's got, how many pounds of food have I eaten in my entire life? Something like that. Which lifetime stat do you wish that you had information, or that you wish, that you had information on, and you could go back and look? What's an actual one that I wish that I had? The P one would be funny. Pounds of food, I don't need to know that. That's also, I don't think that's that interesting. Someone's going to have a good one and I'm going to steal it. I'm just like still kind of trying to, I'm shocked that Charlie XCX was just like completely absent from my Wrapped. Like outside of that playlist, which I don't even know if that counts, by the way. I can't believe she just wasn't even there. Like the Japanese house, yeah. I damn near manipulated the data to make sure that she was going to be on there. Just like overnight, just like play a playlist of the Japanese house when I'm just AFK. I'm not even listening to it because I'm just like, I need her to get her streams. You know what I mean? Didn't get a video from her, Amber. Were you too fucking lazy to record a video for me? I got your shit up on my wall. You know what I mean? Oh. Be sure to send in your raps, folks. And, hey, no, I don't want to say this yet. Maybe I've already said it. I want to talk about data leak a little bit. Did I talk about data leak in the actual part of the meat and potatoes of the show? I did, right? I did end up doing that because it's done. Wink, wink. It's done. It should be done by the time you're listening to this. I don't know if it's released yet, but it should be done or like in the red zone. Fuck the red zone. It should be within the 10-yard line when you're listening to this. Like by the weekend, data leak will 100% be out. Did I already talk about that? I did? Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Folks, if you are listening to this on Spotify, which some of you definitely are, because I saw all the screenshots in my email, be sure to rate 5 stars. Let me know what's a lifetime stat you wish you could keep track of. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Please, 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 it's the holiday season. Keep primary control in check. Don't let him get out, please. And I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful, beautiful.